Roofing and home service business owners, it's really hard to know what kind of ads work until you find winning ones. And until you do, and let's say you do find them and you're running them and they're making you money, they're bringing in good quality homeowners, they don't tend to last for long. And when you're testing a bunch, you don't have a lot of leeway because you have limited creatives, you have to send your teams out. It's very exhaustive of resources. And so it really doesn't make sense to go and test a bunch, especially if you don't know if you're going to get your ROI, especially on your time and the ads that you run it on. Let's say you're doing it on Meta. And so in this video, I want to show you exactly what's working in 2026 with the specific kinds of roofing ads that you can scan and read, as well as home service business owners, a major takeaway to local businesses in terms of how you can think through the process of, number one, identifying proper ads that you know will win and why it is that they'll win. Number two, how this is all encompassing and how you can use this to identify if the people that you ultimately choose to help grow your business know what they're talking about. So without further ado, we're going to dive straight in, starting with some of my clients' images over here. As you can see on my screen, how to read a roofing ad. This is an image that's paired with some timeless and strong ad copy messaging. Essentially, the premise of an ad is if you have a good creative, which is the visual, either an image or a video, in 2026 that is authentic and it's your branding and you have the work that you're doing that's showcased as well as faces and you look trustworthy, as long as you have those things, you will do well. But there's certain things that turn off homeowners, especially the ones that you're wanting to get into the neighborhoods of, that you might be doing subtle things that you're not sure why it is that you might be getting inconsistent results, or you don't know how to get consistent results and land jobs and leads in the neighborhoods that you prefer. So this image we have right here, perfect example of a middle-class home located in the East Coast of America. We have over here a picture of the roofing business owner and the client standing outside, and it's very easy to tell right now. It's just an image. Like on the outside, on the surface, it looks like it's just an image of a roofing business owner and a happy homeowner in front of the roof with a truck and a guy on it still working, right? But there's subtle details that are what make it win so much. In fact, this is one of the most successful creatives I've ever ran, and it's because of how we took the image and how we subtly selected specific details so that we could prime them for success. So let me show you. All right, so you can see right now we have the grass, we got bushes, and we got trees, as well as the trees over here. You can see the clothing. It's very resemblant of that of maybe springtime clothing. So you can tell if it was posted during the right time of the year, start of the roofing season. This is local. Right, the person looking at this is a homeowner and they're very familiar because they've seen these kinds of houses. They live in neighborhoods where these kinds of houses are familiar, and they know that these are tree species relevant to the state and city that they are in. And so with that, it subconsciously suggests that this business owner is trustworthy enough because this homeowner was happy to take a photo, and I've blurred them out for anonymity purposes. Where people go wrong with these kinds of images is trying to take like images of just people in them and throw them up on their ads, like pictures of the office or pictures of homeowners like shaking hands or sales reps. You have to be very careful about the kind of images you want to portray because it's better to have an older looking gentleman in the ad, just more trustworthy because it looks more like a stereotypical roofer. And in terms of the homeowners and the kind of homes that you want to select, you would only want to select the homes and images with homeowners of neighborhoods and actual customers that you would want to work with. And the meta algorithm is so good that it'll place you in front of people just like them. Let's take a look at another example, an example with more social proof. This is an example of a roofer on the East Coast as well, actually in the Midwest. And you can see here that they have a yard sign, and it's the roofing business owner and one of their customers. This is a kind of home that looks very different. You can see here that overall, the style of the home is very different architecturally. This is a very well thought out image. They're also capturing very subtle details, like they're close enough to be able to capture the branding on the gentleman's shirt so that they know it's an actual reputable brand. It shows the phone number, which has the area code local to the area and city that they're in. All this suggests that this is a company that's trustworthy. And in a market where trustworthiness is pretty uniform and you're expected to do just that, it's better to have images that don't look like ads where you're shaking hands in a very cheesy way. So this ad is a winner. And I want to compare these to some bad ads so you know exactly what to avoid. If you were to throw up an image of one of your sales reps or you taking a picture and they did not have an area code, a yard sign, you were not captured in the frame, it was just the homeowner and his owner, it was just the owner, it doesn't assume the right things, because if you just had an image of a house and one person right here, it doesn't tell the full story. This is very clear that this is a homeowner who came outside of his house who was happy enough to take an image of the owner. They're standing comfortably. It looks natural. It kind of looks like a post that you would see from one of your friends who owns another construction company or a local business, where it's just very friendly and down to earth. Now, the type of images that you do not want to have look perfect, the type of images that you don't want to have look stock or look like they were taken professionally, and they almost look too good. Right? The common pattern between all my ads that I've tested, and I've tested tens of thousands of creatives for roofing and HVAC and many other home service niches, is the least successful creatives, they look like ads. This ad looks, the sales team got pulled aside and they're taking an image in front of the truck and it looks like they're hanging out. If you could see their faces right now, they look pretty relaxed. And I think the things that make this ad so successful is, comparatively to another one that I will show shortly, is that there's power lines. You can tell that it's very clear, a neighborhood in Florida. You can see the metal roofs very subtly. There's a phone number here on the side. It says veteran owned. And this business just seems reputable because there's multiple individuals. They're also all in uniform. They look very well put together. And they also look very casual. They don't look like the kind of person that's going to corner you at the kitchen table for hours on end trying to pitch you. They look like they're guys out in the field. They're out there to have a good time and also help homeowners in the area. That's the kind of demeanor they're giving off. And it's very difficult to identify this from a point of self-awareness, where just specific faces or looks or races, for that matter, can have drastically different results in the same area, especially in places where homeowners or the kind of people are a little bit more cynical or skeptical of others. And in this case, they did a good job of mixing it up. Now, when it comes to taking pictures with homeowners, especially selfie style, it's very important, as well as just a framework for ads that convert at $250, $200 cost per appointments for sit downs. The commonality is that none of them look perfect. This one is looking like a good ad because it looks like it's in a great neighborhood, middle class, South Florida. It's showing the trees. It's showing like the different architecture of the houses, but it's AI. It's completely AI. And if you could see this guy's face, it's not easy to completely tell, but homeowners have this level of awareness that's been built in after seeing so many different ads from stock images, AI. It's very obvious at this point that when it's too perfect, it's not good. And so this is the kind of image that if you were to send your team out to get, would not actually be that beneficial for running as an ad to acquire customers, because I've tested this. Selfie ads don't work when they look too good. They have to look pretty casual. And so I can show you an exact example of what that would look like, one that is more successful. This image of a Californian roofer on top of a roof with his crew, with roofers that look local to the area, you know, Hispanics, they're wearing nice hats. And you can see there's a person in the back looking at them. This looks similar to like the road architecture of like just a neighborhood that looks like it's a quarter cul-de-sac. It's kind of like a circle. And you can see here there's tiles, this one's shingle. There's very subtle details like the trees as well as power lines. It just looks very familiar to the customer. They're also on top of a roof, and it's very clear that they're roofers because they're standing on a roof. They're wearing shirts that say roofers. And they're in a nice neighborhood, so automatically homeowners subconsciously assume that this is someone that they know, like, and trust at a neighborhood that looks like theirs. And so it's very easy for them to want to trust and opt in. Combine this with an ad that has a lot of engagement that you could pretty much artificially create by running an engagement ad, which is pennies on the dollar, much cheaper than running direct response ads with the purpose of converting homeowners. So boosting the post first, and then getting likes, comments, people to opt in, and then running that as an ad, this is the perfect kind of ad that garners the right kind of attention for months on end, with tens of thousands of ad spend being able to sustain before it actually goes tired. All right, these have been some pretty obvious examples so far, so I think that it'd be better and more valuable if you could take a look at some non-obvious examples of some creatives that you do not want to run for your business, especially if you want to have a good return on your investment and get immediate leads at scale. Because you'll find a common pattern, and it might be a little bit different from what I'm telling you inside of your market and your specific ad account. But taking a look here, it looks like we have an image of, not quite sure if these are homeowners and then the crew. And then we have images of, it seems, different homes. We got the crew, they're working. And we have, these two are actually identifiable as workers, but this individual looks like the homeowner in the middle. I think that this ad is not going to perform as well as just overall it didn't, because it's not clear what's going on. I mean, you can see there's a roof, they're on top of it, and this is a different roof. It's a misfit context. So when you're pairing images together, if you're going to use images, use them of the same project. If you're using different ones, you're automatically assuming that the homeowner knows what you and I both know, which is you're a roofing company, this is the same house. But when it's different, it creates a little bit of confusion. And so it's not really a scroll stopper because they don't see the beginning, middle, and end. They just see some images that seem like they've been thrown together. And this kind of creative doesn't work because it's too busy. It's too busy. There's too much going on. It's also not level. These homeowners are like this tall in proportion to the frame, where the people are this small, and this is a different house, and it's in progress, looks a little bit messy. And if these images were just paired right with some other images of the same homes, it might have done well, but it didn't. It flopped. Very non-obvious ad, but it says roofs from $2,000. I've seen this ad being ran before inside of a client ad account from a previous agency, and I just thought to myself, like, what kind of homeowners would this attract? Like, yes, it would bring in leads, but if we're saying roofs are $2,000, even though it's true, and we're putting images of roofs, it assumes that the roof was $2,000. And so if it was paired with the wrong type of ad copy, we're just leading with the fact that it's price oriented as opposed to talking about what makes your company different. This kind of ad will bring in the wrong attention, as well as attention for very high cost per leads. And I've seen in like the 500-600s range, merely because, number one, it's very obvious that it's an ad. It does not look like an organic post whatsoever. You can see here there's a BBB rating, there's a 5 stars, there's a headline. Like, normal posts don't look like this, very clear, right? And then you have the homeowners. They look like they've been pulled together to take an image. Hey guys, come outside, let's take a nice photo. And it's well intended, but not well executed, because it's too obvious. It's too obvious that you're doing this on purpose. The right roofing company doesn't need to try. They just are. And this is an example of a roof that was probably covered by insurance, but that was not successful when it ran as a creative. Here's another non-obvious example. It's very clear to some people, if they live in this city, that they know what kind of city it is, because the tree species, they can see the way and the distance between the houses. If you live in a specific city, you probably know what I mean. You know what the distance between the houses. You also notice that there's a similar architecture between these houses, but they're not the same. The reason why this ad would fail, and I've seen this exact kind of ad fail, is because it's just an image of a roof. There's no personality, and it's very difficult to build a connection with this type of ad. What should be ran instead is, if you're gonna run roof-only ads with no people of images of your team or customers, it's better to pair these kinds of images with images of befores and afters, and also having like a company truck, or maybe some people in the background that might just be there, so it seems like there's something going on. It's also not, it's pretty obvious that it's a roof, but I don't think obvious enough. If you were just using images of houses, it has to be clear enough, because this bottom one is showing the image that's showcasing half of the frame is just the siding, and you can see the roof, but you can't see the whole thing. So it's hard to assume that it was done well. This image would not do well. Now in contrast, this is a perfect example of what I mean by if you're just gonna use the roofs, if there's gonna be less people, less personality, you could still get the crews working on there. And this is a perfect example of the kind of ad that would crush it because they're in nice neighborhoods, great lighting, you have the crew working, you can see the IKO shingle packs over here. It's in progress, and although it's a different style of roof, the context makes sense. You can see here this is a completed project, this is a during project, and again, same things, little details. You have this big lot in the background, and it's easy to tell that this is native to like upstate New York if you're local to the area. You can also see the ladders, beautiful siding, and so paired with the right kind of messaging, this is the kind of ad that would bring in the right kind of homeowners that this specific person would want to work with, because these are very well put together, very well maintained homes. What to and what not to do. This image, it seems like it would work. You have the owner and you have the homeowner, and they're holding up a yard sign. Again, the issue, not so obvious. It's too obvious of an ad. It's not organic enough. You didn't pull two people together and say, hey, let's take a picture like this. This is not how people stand. And so comparatively to one of the first ads that I showed you guys, which was the yard sign where they were just standing up and they were looking at the camera, this one's too fake. It comes across like it could work in maybe a smaller town, but if you're competing against other people that have way better creatives that showcase their brand way better, and they have a better frame of the entire house, but right now you can't even see the sidewalk. You can't see how big the lot is. You can't see the cars or the trucks in the driveway. You can't even see what area this is because there's no tree species or like garbage bins and little details showing in the ads. It's hard to tell like who is this person, how are they on my feed. Other than being a roofing company, I see roofing ads all the time. Is this person the right person for me? And it's just a quick snap judgment, and they failed the test. On the other hand, if you were to use an image where it was just like this, casual pic, they're not trying too hard. He's looking really relaxed. He's in front of a house that was complete by this roofing company. Very nice weather. You can tell this is Midwest/East Coast with the kind of home that it is. They have the yard sign. There's, again, the area code. This kind of silhouette does really well. It lasts very long. You can pair it with multiple kinds of messages. And when you are pairing images, so the main takeaway is when you're attempting to test and scale creatives for your roofing company, it's important to understand that you're not just a roofing company, you're a business that happens to sell roofs, and to be in the business of being able to help that and be able to spread the good work, fight the good fight, is media and distribution. You have to become a master of understanding like what works and then finding the right people to put them in place, already knowing these things, and be able to test and use your dollar more effectively so that you could get your sales team in front of more homeowners for a reliable, consistent cost and understand what actually works so that you're not running a one-legged stool. And so I really hope this video was helpful. I'm going to end it off there. Now you have a framework for knowing exactly what kind of creatives work when it comes to statics. And if you've ran ads in the past, you know now why they might not have worked. And if you ran ads that might have worked in the past or did average, you know exactly why now. Compare this to what you had in the past and iterate, and now you know what to do moving forward.